Hey guys, welcome to today's video. My name is Obed. If you're new here, this is a wonderful landing page for you if you are currently applying to graduate school or planning to apply to graduate school in the future. In this video, I will be talking about the ABCs of graduate school application. And by that, I mean the common misconceptions, the terminologies, and FAQs, that's frequently asked questions that come up during the graduate school application process. I am particularly interested in things people tend to get wrong when they are applying to graduate school. I want you to follow me on a journey for this video, and by the end, stick around and give yourself a round of applause if you've always known all these terminologies correctly, and put down in the comment section what terminologies you've always had a misunderstanding about. I'm very interested in knowing what you learned that is new from this video. That said, let's get into the ABCs of fully funded master's and PhD programs in the United States. The number one basic misconception is somebody approaches you today and say, hey, I can teach you. Let's say someone like me, yeah? I approach you today and I'm like, I can teach you how to get full scholarship to go to the United States to study a master's or a PhD. Let's backtrack a bit. Okay. What do they mean? Majority of the time, they might be talking about fully funded programs. That is very different from a scholarship. And that is why this number one item is very important. What is the difference between full funding, partial funding, and scholarship, right? So let's get into it. Full funding means you were offered admission and you were given full funding. Majority of the time, this means a tuition waiver. Tuition means school fee. So you had 100% tuition waiver. 100% of your school fees was waived. So you don't need to pay for it. While partial funding means partial tuition waiver. It means it could be 30%, 40%, 50%, or whatever percentage of your tuition was waived. So you had to pay the rest from out of pocket. And then scholarship means someone had given the school money, or the school had some money to spare, so they gave you a scholarship to come to school for free. Those are different things, and we will get into it accordingly. But right off the bat, understand that there's a difference between full funding, partial funding, and scholarship. All right, for item number 2, there are 4 ways that you can be fully funded in any program in the United States. Whether you are a STEM student or a non-STEM student, it doesn't matter. I've seen people in history, people in geography, people in economics, people in mathematics, computer science, computer engineering, whatever field you are in, that actually do get full funding in the United States. This exists, guys. There are 4 main ways that you can get fully funded in the United States. Number 1 is graduate research assistantship. Number 2 is graduate teaching assistantship. Number 3 is graduate administrative assistantship, and you can just say GA. And number 4 is just a graduate fellowship, or fellowship for short. Sometimes a 5th way could be a combination of these options, but that is less common. But you can get combinations of one of these 4 options. Let's talk about graduate research assistantship. RA, or graduate research assistantship, simply means you are helping a professor to conduct research. This research usually amounts to your thesis for a master's or your dissertation for a PhD, and you're getting paid to do this research with this professor. Graduate teaching assistantship is you are helping a professor teach a class, or you're helping teach a lab class, or you're helping with citations in classes. And while you're doing this, you are also taking your own classes as a graduate student, and then you're possibly also doing your research. So as a TA, you are doing more than as an RA. So typically, if you have the opportunity of being an RA, take it first, and if you don't have a choice, take a TA. But RA is always better than TA, just because it demands less from you in terms of time and commitment. Next is graduate administrative assistantship. For graduate admin, it's just that you maybe are acting as a secretary. Sometimes you help manage emails for the department or help organize activities, that kind of stuff. So you're just doing administrative work. This is far less common than RA, TA, and fellowships, but generally you most likely see people getting TA, RA, and fellowship. Graduate fellowship means you're coming in, no one expects you to teach, no one expects you to get paid for research assistantship. You will get money, of course, but you still have to do research because you need that for your graduation, but you're not required to work for the school or the department because the fellowship covers that. Ultimately, fellowship is better than research assistantship. Research assistantship is better than TA. And you might ask, how is fellowship better than research assistantship since you do research in both? The difference is your research assistantship money most likely will come from your professor, and because it comes from his pocket, he can do whatever he likes. You usually would have less say in what's going on. But if you have a fellowship, the money is yours. The money was given to you. So as you're working with the professor, if you don't like that group or don't like that research, you can actually move without feeling any guilt or anything, because the money belongs to you and you're not begging anyone to take you, because in fact, professors are fighting for you because you have your own money, so they don't have to pay for you out of pocket. Basically, what you are is cheap labor and free labor to them. So think about that. Fellowships are generally more difficult to get or more competitive, so you should be happy if you get anyone, but this is basically what full funding means in the United States. If you didn't know, now you know. Let's talk about stipend. Stipend is the money you get compensated with for attending school. A stipend is not a salary. The idea is that you're being paid a stipend. So it's a small money that's meant to cover your rent and cover your feeding and your transportation. That's it. It's basic. That's what a stipend means. And one last thing to keep in mind about this is a stipend is not a salary, and a stipend is also not a scholarship. So just something to keep in mind. Okay. All right. So item number 4 for the ABCs of graduate school application is cold emails. Cold email is an email you send to someone you don't know, someone that has never heard from you before and you've never had an exchange with. That's why it's called cold, because they were not expecting it. They don't know you, whatever. So you're reaching out to them out of nowhere. Therefore, it has to sound a certain way. And if you're curious to learn more about cold emails, I have a video linked up here that talks about cold emails. It's a phenomenal video. Check it out and have fun. 2 things to never talk about in a cold email is admission, money. Don't ever mention those 2 things. You don't want your cold email to sound like you have not done your homework. You don't want to be talking about, oh, can you accept me into the program? This is because professors, no single professor controls an admission, right? That's not how the system works in the US. It's a whole department decision. So don't ask about admission. Number 2, don't ask about money, because people don't like talking about money abroad, especially in the US. People don't like giving money. People don't like talking about money. So keep that in the back of your head. Instead, approach cold email with value. By that I mean approach the professors with value. So come with value. Show that you've read their work, show that you are interested in the work, and you go from there. For more on cold emails, check out this video. I have examples, tons of examples for you to look at, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Item number 5 of ABCs of graduate school application is work-life balance of a graduate student. All right, come closer and pay close attention. I'm about to talk about the work-life balance of graduate students. All right, you are living in Kenya or in Ghana or in Nigeria or in the United States or wherever you're living, and you are choosing to apply to graduate school, and you think, my life is about to get better. I'm about to come to the US. I'm about to live a better life. All right, listen to this. There are 5 things that you'll be expected to balance at once as a graduate student. Item number 1, you would have your official duties as a research assistant or as a teaching assistant. You will have a teaching assistantship duty. This will take you 15 to 20 hours a week. Guys, think about it a lot. It's actually a lot of time. Within this time, you are leading a class, or like a lab class, you are organizing office hours, you're attending TA meetings, you are grading. Grading means you are scoring sheets and putting in the records online, do so many things. You're doing all this, right? That's your official assistantship duties. Number 2, you are attending classes, and I'm talking about your graduate classes. Remember, you are a student, so you are attending graduate classes, you are taking lectures, you are doing your assignment, you are writing group proposals or preparing for group presentations. You are presenting for you are preparing for personal presentations. So you have all that going on. You have to maintain your grade because you have to have a GPA of at least 3.0 out of 4. You're doing this in addition to what I talked about earlier, being a teaching assistant. Item number 3, you are attending seminars, department seminars. This is actually different from your classes. It's different from your GA or like your duties to the department. You are attending seminars that you have to participate in, you have to listen, you have to ask questions, and maybe one day you have to present at a seminar. Item number 4, you are also busy maintaining a social life. Remember, you have a social life. You have to be able to communicate with your friends, your fellow graduate students. You have to look like a human being. You have a social life to maintain. And item number 5, because humans are not meant to be an island, you probably have a personal life, and we're talking about maybe a relationship. You have your family back home, wherever home is, communicating with you, and then you have your significant other and all of that. My point is, you're balancing 5 things at once. Think about your life now. I just want you to imagine your life right now, today. If you're still on the process of applying to graduate school, what does your week look like, right? In a week, what do? Maybe you work on an SOP, you work on letter of recommendations, maybe you source money for application fee. Think about your life today and think about everything I just counted, 5 things. All this said, think very well about what you're getting yourself into. Work-life balance as a graduate student is a thing, and it's something to be aware of in the back of your head, that you're signing up for a very, very complex life, and you have to be ready to deal with it. For item number 6 of the graduate school application process is the distinction between academic research and application research. I bet you haven't heard of that. Okay, so in my video linked above, focused on graduate school application, I mentioned research the process. This is the application research. You're supposed to do your homework. This is the homework. This is you researching 100 schools, 200 schools. I mentioned in that video, I researched 200 schools. I'm not even joking. I wish I was joking. And I mentioned the type of phone I used. I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have an iPad. I didn't have a big phone. I had a small Nokia phone, and I did it, and I researched, and I looked into 200 schools. You can do it. Anyone can do it. And so when you're applying to schools, the process of researching, looking for information, making sure you're not asking redundant questions. Redundant question means you're not asking the obvious questions, things that you can find yourself, you're asking questions about. That is application research. Academic research is the research you do when you're already accepted into a program, and this is what you're going to spend the rest of your 2 years or 5 years doing in graduate school. So those are 2 different things. Always decouple them. When I talk about research, I will always be specific about what I mean if I'm talking about application research or academic research. Item number 7 of the ABCs for graduate school application process is CVs and resumes. What are the differences? So when you talk about CV, we're talking about your whole life on a paper or your whole life on a Word document, right? And I'm talking about everything appears. All right, maybe not your secondary school, but if you're applying to undergraduate program, yeah, put your secondary school in there because that's your previous experience. It has to appear. We would want to see it. Heck, you can put your elementary school or primary school there if you're applying to undergraduate program. But as a graduate student, maybe not, right? Just focus on your undergraduate degree, your work experience. Every single thing appears, and that means you don't also worry about the number of pages. Your CV can be 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, 10 pages, 15 pages, 100 pages. If you're like a professor and you have like a lot of papers, you have a lot of presentations, you have a lot of conferences attended, yeah, definitely list them out. So your CV can be as long as it needs to be. A resume instead means a summary. A resume should be 1 page or at the most 2 pages long, maximum. If your resume starts to go over 2 pages, then it is no longer a resume. It's going to be considered a CV. You might as well just go ahead and list everything. So when a graduate school you're applying to request for a resume or CV, please pay attention. Please pay attention to make sure that you are actually submitting the required document, the correct document. For item number 8, let's talk about GPAs, right? All right. What is GPA? GPA simply means grade point average. In Nigeria, particularly, I'll use that as an example. Grade point average is always on a scale of 5.0. There are places in the world where the grade point average is 10. There are places in the world where the grade point average is 7. In the US, it is 4. Regardless of your system and your style, always know how to do the proportion and convert from your scale to 4.0, because in the US they are always using a 4.0 scale. So when you are applying to US schools and they're saying we want a GPA of 3.0, they mean 3.0 out of 4. They are always very specific. If they say a GPA of 2.5, they mean 2.5 out of 4. Don't assume your 2.5 on a 5.0 scale of Nigeria is the same as 2.5 on a 4.0 scale of the United States. You cannot afford to make this mistake. So that's why I'm talking about this. So pay attention to your scale system. Some people do WES evaluation to get the correct or at least close to correct number when you change the skill. When you write your CV or your resume, I advise that you put your GPA based on your original skill. If it is 5.0 or 7 or 10, put the correct thing there and then put in bracket what it is on a 4.0 scale. This helps the admission officer or anyone looking at your application to immediately know whether you fit their bracket or not before they even run your transcript. For item number 9, that brings me to transcript. Speaking of transcript, there are 2 ways they can ask you for transcript. They can ask you for an official transcript or an unofficial transcript. And I always tell people this during your research process. If somebody asks you, if a school asks you for a official transcript and you know you're not willing to pay money for official transcript, because I don't know about other countries, again I'll talk about Nigeria. If you're applying to schools and they're asking for official transcript, if you are from Nigeria, you have to pay for each official transcript you send to each school. I don't know about other countries, just talking about Nigeria. I'm talking about maybe particularly my school. You have to pay for official transcript per school. Ain't nobody got time for that. So my advice is I personally would eliminate any school that requires official transcript. It's not that deep. I'll tell you guys this, there are so many good schools in the US, you don't have to settle for what does not meet your requirement. So if a school is requiring things that you can't meet or afford to do, you can't die on that mountain. Please move on to the next thing. Move on to the next school and basically do the needful. Watch out for the transcript requirement if they are requesting official or unofficial transcript. Official transcript means, so you pay your undergraduate university, they mail your transcript to the United States, to the school you're applying to, and you don't see it with your eyes. That is official transcript. Unofficial transcript is you have access to it by your school, they give it to you, and then you use that soft copy, you can scan it to PDF, then you use that to do applications for like 1 million schools if you like. The idea is that you have a copy and you're the one submitting it. It can be official, it can be unofficial, it doesn't matter the format it takes. Sometimes you don't even have access to this. Sometimes you would have to cut and join your results from like different semesters and just join it yourself on a PDF and submit it. Unofficial is unofficial. The idea is that you probably don't have to pay for it. It should hopefully be available to you for free. That's why I generally recommend that as an option. So if you don't know, now you know. For item number 10, let's talk about recommendation letters. Now, recommendation letters are a necessary evil. There, I said it. I said it. They are a necessary evil. You know, that is the aspect of your application that you most likely do not control, especially if you're trying to do it the correct way, which is you just tell the professors to write you a letter and you trust God or you trust whatever you believe in that they get the job done. So in an ideal world, you don't say it, you don't know what they wrote, they just wrote and submitted. So you are hopeful that they do the right thing. That's why I said it's a necessary evil, because that is one aspect you actually do not control. So it's a necessary evil. But here's the kicker. Who should you ask to write your recommendation letter? Needless to say, ask people you trust. Ask people you have a good relationship. Ask people you have a good relationship with. Ask people you are 100% sure are willing to say good things about you. In fact, sometimes be very direct and ask them if they're going to write a good letter for you. And you can also, sometimes in some cases, offer to assist with bullet points and send them your resume and all of that. For more information on recommendation letter, I have a very comprehensive video linked above. Check it out. I have examples of recommendation letter. I think copies of my recommendation letter are also in there. Check them out and see other examples that I shared. Something you should know, on this channel, you 100% will get the best material for graduate school application. I don't know. I'm just saying that I have absolutely useful videos for graduate school application. So please check them out. Spend some time. Be proactive about the things you're learning from my channel. Take action as you're learning and you'll see the difference. So for recommendation letters, who should you ask? Ask people you trust. Ask people you are sure are willing to put in the work for you. Ask people that are not lazy. Ask people you are sure will write good things about you. And feel free to ask them if they're willing to write positive things about you. Sometimes you hear say rec letters or LOR. LOR means letter of recommendation. So just keep that in mind. For item 11, let's talk about application season. I love this one. So there are basically two main seasons for application. You have the spring semester and you have the fall semester. With these two seasons, the most popular is the fall semester. However, generally fall and spring semesters are popular. Let's keep that in mind. There are two other semesters for schools that have a quarter system, and they do winter, they do spring, they do summer, and they do fall in this order. So winter is around January when the snow is heavy, when it's super cold. You have the winter, and then spring is when leaves start to grow out, and that will be sometime around April, May. So the leaves start to grow out. That's when the spring semester begins for those schools. And then summer semester is when the sun pops up and like the place is warm again. We're looking at like sometime around June, thereabout, maybe, yeah, June, July. And then for fall semester, we're looking at when the leaves are starting to fall again. We're looking at September, October, the semester starts. And typically these semesters are 10-week long semesters. But across the United States, the fall and spring semester are more common. That's in my system too. And generally, when you're looking for money, okay, pay attention. This one is very important. When you're looking for money, apply to fall semester. Guys, in case you didn't hear anything I'm saying before, apply to fall semester. That is when they usually have more money, because majority of the time in spring semester, they would have the department only admit students when there's a need. So it's need-based admission. So maybe like, oh, 2 students, 3 students graduated in December, we need to replace them by January. So like they would admit like maybe 3-4 people. In fall, they probably admit like 20 people. So there's more room for admission in the fall, and there's more money to be given out in the fall versus the spring semester. That is why I generally recommend the fall semester. For item number 12, let's talk about statement of purpose. I love this one. We just say SOP. You've seen SOPs before, right? So the SOPs are basically statement of purpose, and they allow you to communicate your reason for applying to the school. And they could be requested in various forms. Majority of the time, the schools are going to give you a prompt. A prompt means questions, or they're going to tell you what they want you to talk about. So we call that a prompt. So follow the prompt and write your letter. Write about yourself, write intelligently. Do not copy anybody's statement of purpose. Now, it could also be called personal statement, and they could also say, in addition to statement of purpose or your personal statement, give us a research statement or a research summary. These are all things that will pop out that you can see as you go through different schools' website. When you see a research statement or a research summary, it just means if you have any project experience, any research experience from your country, say Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, India, China, wherever you're from, use one page of Microsoft Word or whatever office platform you're using to talk about your project or your research. Sometimes if they tell you to write about your research summary, they also tell you specifically how to go about it, but I've just told you the summary, right? Write the concept, how it happened, or conceptualization, how the idea was conceived. Write about what was done, how, or methodology, how the work was carried out. Write about your specific contribution. Next, write about the results and outcomes. Then next, write about the impact. What was the impact? What is the big picture? Ultimately, how does this change the world, right? Does it solve world hunger? Does it solve global warming? Think about that. That is a picture you need to build. That is a ladder to follow. But that is research summary, and then statement of purpose. Like I said, there's a video on that. Enjoy and check it out. For item number 13, let's talk about application timelines. I love this one too, because I think people always misunderstand this. Now, some of the best schools, some of the top ranking schools will have their application timelines in December, starting say first week of December for semesters that are starting the following year in August, September. This is because it gives them plenty time to look at your admission, to get back to you. It gives you plenty time to apply for a visa and be able to fly to the US and start school. Happy, everybody's happy. However, there are also schools with late application timeline or deadlines, like some deadlines are in January, some deadlines are in February, some deadlines are in March, some deadlines are even in April. I've seen that. I think I might make a video on that. So if you, for some reason, haven't been able to meet up with application deadlines in December, you can look for schools that have late deadlines in March, April, and then apply to those schools. They most likely will get back to you on time, or maybe not, but hopefully they get back to you on time. But application deadlines are things to keep in mind when you're applying to graduate school. It is a real thing. Make sure when you have a list of schools you're applying to, also list the application deadline so that you would know exactly what timeline you're working with. This is very important and a very key detail to keep in mind. And last but not the least, Item number 14, super important. Let's talk about safe schools versus ambitious schools versus target schools. I love this one too, because safe schools are schools that you're aware of, that you meet and exceed their admission requirements. So they have entrance GPA requirement of 2.5 and your GPA is 3.5. So you clearly surpass their requirement for admission in terms of GPAs. They need research experience, you have research experience. They need publications, you have publications. They need presentation, you have presentation. Basically everything they need, you have. So you meet and surpass their entrance requirement. Those schools you can call safe schools because you are in a good space, especially also if like a professor there was communicating with you and encouraged you to apply. That's a safe school because you feel safe applying there. You feel secured, you feel assured that you will be fine or you get offered an admission if you apply. Target schools are schools that are right on par with your requirement. So they need 2.5 and you have 2.5. So they are right on par with your qualifications, and they need some presentations, you have a few. They need some research, you have a few. You don't like dramatically or drastically exceed their expectations, but you meet the expectations and you're hopeful that you get accepted. That's a target school. Ambitious schools are schools that you meet their common entrance requirement as well, like your target schools. However, they are top ranking schools and you're competing for a very small pie. So there is 5,000 people competing for 100 spots, for example. Those 5,000 people all meet the admission requirement. However, now it's like who has the highest GPA, who has the highest experience, who has this, that, who has this, that, who has more volunteer experience. Now like things that are almost insubstantial or I won't say not useful, things that are not supposed to be prioritized start to get prioritized because everybody actually meets the entrance requirement. Now you're competing with like the best of the best. And we're talking about schools like Harvard, MIT, UC Berkeley, Caltech, and the rest. So when you build your school list, something to keep in mind is, am I only focused on safe schools? Am I only focused on target schools and safe schools? Well, whatever it is, it's just a piece of information I feel you should know, and you can plan yourself accordingly. All right. Let's do this. Now that all has been said and done, go to the comment section and let me know if you knew about everything I talked about in the video. If you did not learn anything new, just put down in the comment section, I am ready to go. Ready to go means that you watched the whole video and all the terminologies I described, you were well aware of and you did not misunderstand anything before. So you knew everything before. And then if you learned something new, leave a comment down below and say, I learned something new. So I just want to make sure that I'm making an impact and people are learning something from the channel and, you know, adding to your repertoire of knowledge. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and I'm excited to see what you do in the future. Wish you all the best. Keep growing. I'll see you guys in the next video.